And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Pelican Sports Report. I am Doug Gann, and we're joined tonight by a legend. It's Ronnie Rantz, folks, but it takes, this is the point where they say this guy needs no introduction, but I have to for all the cool stuff that he's done. And you can see the little scroll going across the bottom of all of that. Menard grad, LSU star, with Baton Rouge Rougarou owner, and now the CEO of the Sports Hall of Fame, Jumbo Sports Network, the whipping post for Lynn Rollins. I can go on and on with these things, but Ronnie Rantz, welcome aboard.
Doug, good to be here, man. The thing I'm honored to be called the most is the whipping post for Doug Ireland. I mean, for Lynn Rollins. That's
for Lynn Rollins,
and Doug
that's
Ireland,
right,
for that matter. But Lynn's my guy, man. Lynn and I go back. I graduated high school in 1990 from Menard. Lynn was doing Axe Television in the 80s. He was play-by-play guy on the Friday night high school football games on the Axe Network in Alexandria back in the 80s. I can remember him sitting on top of a van broadcasting the games back then. Literally, I don't know how he got up there, by the way. He was sitting on top of a van broadcasting again. I think it was like Menard Buckeye was the first time I ever really met him at Buckeye. And then he and I started a friendship in the mid-90s when I played for the Alexandria Aces for a couple of months after I got released from the Milwaukee Brewers organization. And then he and I, of course, he was one of the first phone calls I made in the late 90s. I think it was 1997 or 1998 when I called him. I think it was the fall of 97 when I called him about being the play-by-play guy for the Jumbo Sports Network, which our first broadcast for 1998. And so Lynn and I have been working together since 1998.
Well, it's great how things weave and intertwine. So my first job in broadcasting was on Friday nights with Axe when Lynn was gone. Okay, so I took over and started doing that a while with Rich Dupree. I broke in and did the color commentary with him when it was out of that same little van. You'd have to go down to the head end, switch the signal from the cable company over to the game, and then worked alongside of Lynn at the Aces games doing the in-stadium music. And Lynn and I met because they come up, if somebody's got a birthday, they'll come by and they'll have a cake for you. Well, they come into the press box and they're singing, and Lynn comes out and I'm up and we're like, well, heck, we got the same birthday. And we've been friends ever since the 90s as well.
What is that, Doug? What's y'all's birthday?
June 25th.
June 25th.
I don't know it was the same year, but it is June 25th.
Yeah. No, he's definitely not the same year. He's got you by that's for sure.
He does. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but we'll wrap up with Lynn. What's your favorite? A couple of things. One, description of a sky, or best call that he's got, because he's it's the fever blister and the ant and all of those things.
Yeah, I'm more of an old school Lynn Rollins fan from a standpoint of I like the old school sayings. He's hotter than a Rolex in a pawn shop is probably my all-time favorite.
Right.
Because, that's just so true. And, he's hotter than a fever blister.
On a fire ant.
Fire ant on a fever blister. That one's good, but the Rolex in a pawn shop is my all-time favorite. God, he's had so many great calls. Obviously pucker up and kiss that baby goodbye, which he didn't originate. I mean, he said himself. He stole that from a legendary broadcaster with Cleveland Indians, 50 years ago, whatever. But
right.
But that one is iconic to him, especially in the history of LSU baseball and SEC baseball. Pucker up and kiss that baby goodbye for 25 plus years has been Lynn Rollins' call. Even longer than that, really, because he used to fill in on the radio for Jim Hathorn when Jim would have the basketball conflicts early on in the season. Lynn was the guy on the broadcast that would fill in a lot and he did that for parts of 10 years prior to TV in 98. But my favorite, I guess, God, there's so many memories, but you never forget your first. The very first game that we did on the Jumbo Sports Network in 1998. We did 5 games that year. And on the very first broadcast, we hired a truck and camera equipment out of WHNO Channel 20 out of New Orleans. And they came in. We had a 4-camera setup. And at some point in the middle of the game, the center field camera went out. And so we
Right.
only had 3 cameras the rest of the way in our very first broadcast. And of course, if you're going to lose any of the cameras in baseball, that's the one you don't want to lose.
That's
Is the center
correct.
field
That's your
camera.
pitcher cam. That's right.
Yeah. And so, that was a bummer. And I remember we fought through it, and we were, we raced home to watch the VHS recording of the game.
That's right.
And to analyze it and break it down and make sure the commercials ran and everything like that properly. And that was probably one of the coolest moments. And then, of course, Lynn and I got to call Skip Bertman's final game in 2001 when they had over 13,000 at the Shrine on Airline
Right.
in New Orleans. And of course, the ratings on that thing were tremendous. And so those were some of the memories that I'll always remember. Lots of great memories.
Look, that's great. And it seems like every time we spoke with him last week, and next week he's going to be on the show with us as well.
Okay.
So we're excited. We're excited to have that. These days, you're doing a lot of different things. You just wrapped up a season with the Baton Rouge Rougarou, that you're owner of that group. And we went out there for game 1, opening night, and you guys had a lot of fun. Tell us about the Rougarou.
So for folks that don't know, the Baton Rouge Rougarou is a summer collegiate wood bat baseball team. So, I mean, think minor league baseball, but with college players. And,
right.
It's just like a minor league schedule. In June and July, we play 48 games in 62 days. And, we have fireworks on Friday nights, and we got fun jumps for the kids at the games. And we have the mascot races, and we have, cold beer for the parents and daiquiris and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun, on field promotions every inning. And we had a successful season, went 14-5 at home. We did have 5 rainouts, which is a crazy high number for only 24 games. We just ran into some bad luck in the outfield. We just got crushed with rain, but doing some things over there trying to improve the field in downtown Baton Rouge. But we encourage folks to come out. Next year will be year 4 that I'll have owned the Baton Rouge Rougarou. We had a winning season this year. We had the best record of all the 3 teams in Louisiana. And we'll play again next year. Probably the first game will be May 29th, May 30th. So fun for all ages. All games are at 7 o'clock at night. You can go check it out at brrougarou.com.
And if they can't make it down there, of course, they can watch it. And your boy Tommy K and Jeff Palermo on the call of that one.
Yeah, so you go to TexasCollegiateLeague.com, or you go to our website,
right.
brrougarou.com, and you can maneuver through it. Just, hit that watch live on demand. And I know you guys played a big part, and we appreciate 446 Sports. And, we use some of your equipment and worked great this year. Got it all cleaned up and ready to go to get back to you. But it was great. And, we had a little 2-camera shoot. We had a center field camera, high home camera. We had really good play-by-play and color guys. Tommy played college baseball in the 70s, early 80s as a left-handed pitcher at Southeastern. And then we had a team of people that did the play-by-play. Jeff Palermo probably did the majority of the games. We had Patrick Wright from LSU. We had Hunt Palmer from LSU. We had Garrett Woolvard, who does some games for the LHSA network. And so we had some really good broadcasters, and we had definitely the best broadcast team of any of the teams in the league. It's a lot of fun, man. These are college players that are all in college that have eligibility remaining. They're all trying to get seen by pro scouts. They're all trying to get better for their college team, or they're in the portal and are trying to go to a different team, because now the transfer portal, this past year, they had 7,000 players in college in the transfer portal at the start of the portal in June. It's crazy.
I think that in the portal, I guess I get it, but I think it's a disaster. I think it's terrible for recruiting, and I could get on that soapbox and stay as long as I wanted to. One of those players from LSU that was in there, when you see him when LSU's over in North Carolina, was Everett, who you keep watching the stats and seeing everything, and he's at the top of the league. He did exactly what Zeb does. He pounds a baseball, and he goes and gets it in center field.
Yeah, he played for the Rougarou this year, had a great season. He's transferring to Louisiana Tech. He'll be a starting outfielder, maybe center fielder, and for Louisiana Tech. He was a number 1 high school outfielder in the state out of Neville a couple years ago. And so he's a really good player. And he played like that for the Rougarou. Lefty batter, just plays hard, loves the game. And he's a guy that, had if college baseball were like it were 5 years ago, he would be a heck of an LSU player.
Right.
Red shirt, wait your time. This would have been, he'd have been poised in his third year to have a red shirt, sophomore season, 3 years in the program, is coming off a successful summer. He'd have had a big year for LSU. But unfortunately for him, the way it works is you don't stick around and develop and wait for players. You go just get to the portal and you take one. You go get one. You go get a third year, fourth year, fifth year player who's got skins on the wall, who's a proven commodity, and you just plug and play. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like Mac Bingham last year, didn't work. The guy hit 100 points less than what he hit at Arizona for LSU, and it didn't work. But yet a guy like Tommy White clearly worked. And so you just, it is what it is. And it's a shame for the high school player, because the high school player is really not, if I'm a high school player these days, Doug, I don't know if I go to a Division I baseball college. I think I go to junior college, or I go to a lesser college. Like if I want to play at LSU, don't start your career at LSU. Start your career at Nichols. Start your career at McNeese. Go be a dude for them and then transfer.
Right. Yeah. How about the kid that come here that shocked everybody? I guess Schmidt is the name. He's coming, turns down first round money, gets his name out of the draft because he wants to be a Tiger.
So the Schmidt kid's a right-handed pitcher out of Catholic High at Baton Rouge. He is a guy who, had he been willing to take $2.5 million, wouldn't be going to college. But he had a high sticker number. His number was over $4 million. They had teams that were maybe willing to go 3, but they weren't willing to go 4. And so he took his name out of the hat the day of the draft. He wanted to be a Tiger. He grew up at Catholic High. Think of all the great players that have played at Catholic High, from Kurt Ainsworth and the Josh Smiths of the world. I mean, and many others. I mean, the Nola brothers. And I mean, like there's been so many players that have gone to Catholic High. I mean, it's literally 10 minutes from LSU's campus. Not even that, maybe 5. And so those guys grow up being LSU fans. They grow up knowing all the history of Catholic High and LSU, and he wanted to be a part of that. And his family comes from means. They have some, money and resources, so they weren't just selling their soul for the money. The kid dreamed of being a Tiger, and he's going to get the chance to do that. And I'm telling you right now, he is going to be a giant factor right away. Like next year, going to be a giant factor.
Right. He comes in like one of those guys that have transferred over and done it. Boy, my dogs don't like talking about stuff like that, evidently. I don't. No, they sit in here with me and do the show, and this is the first time that I really, hang on, I'm going to let them out the door real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do.
There's nothing like a live show, huh? Look, in 2 minutes, they'll be scratching to get back in here, too. That's part of it. But they sit in here, and nobody can see them until there's a noise outside.
What kind of dogs you got?
They're miniature dachshunds. We've got 3 of them, and one of them sits to the left and one of them sits to the right. And they heard a knock on the door outside, and there they went. So they sat there at the door until it opened. Thankfully, my wife's still here and was able to open the door. So that was great. Well, we're looking forward to LSU baseball. LSU football's right around the corner, though, and man, that team's shaping up.
I don't know how to feel about it, and obviously everybody right now, it's just, everybody feels good in the off season, right? I mean, everybody's optimistic and all the coaches say all the right things and everything like that. I'll say this, my snapshot opinion, not having seen a practice, don't know anything yet, is I think that they're going to be able to move the football, and they're going to have a top 5-6 team in the SEC on offense. Okay. No doubt. I think Nussmeier is going to be a top 3-4 quarterback in the league, and they're going to have a top 6 offense. But why do we think the defense is going to be that much better? They had a need, defensive line. They did not address the need in the offseason. Quite frankly, they didn't have enough money. And I mean, I know LSU fans like to think
that's terrible, though.
They didn't have enough money. I mean, look, it's a new world, Doug. It ain't about facilities anymore. It's not about locker room. It's not about training facility. It's not about cooking and the chefs and all. It's about how much are you paying me, dog? And LSU doesn't have the money that Texas has. They don't have the money that Ole Miss had this year. Ole Miss is spending way more money than LSU. How about that? Let that sink in. Okay, now they're selling their soul. They're all in on this year, right? Like they ain't gonna be able to keep doing this. But the reality is that LSU's behind Texas, Texas A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia. That's just Arkansas. Those are just the ones we know about. Arkansas's got Walmart, Tyson money. LSU's got Ronnie and Doug money. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
right.
the
That's right.
reality is that
We're getting
LSU's got
subscriptions by everybody.
LSU's got great, great facilities and tradition, and they got a pool of talent in Louisiana and all that. But they are not in the top half in the SEC when it comes to money.
Well, how do they go out
that
and
is going
sign?
to catch up.
How do they go out and sign the number one running back, the number one quarterback, the number one? How are they getting those guys?
Well, they don't have enough for everybody. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Like the cost of a high-end, top-tier defensive lineman was like $750 to $1 million. Okay, I mean, and that came out of I talked to two coaches, and they're like, we got to pay $1 million to get one of these, transfer portal top, no doubt defensive lineman going to come in, start, make a difference, make us better. The price was $1 million, $800,000. They didn't have that budget. They don't have enough for everybody. And
it almost seems to me, Ronnie, like, do you remember when fantasy football came out and your salary cap was $100 million, and if you went out and got a whatever quarterback you want to go get Drew Brees, well, that's $32. You get down to the bottom, you're out of money. It almost seems like teams are building dadgum fantasy football teams.
That's 100% what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And look, here's this. I'll tell you, it's even worse. This is how it works. So LSU this year, and this is according out the mouth of Brian Kelly at the press conference, right? They're going to spend between 14 and 17 million. Okay.
Right.
Now,
right.
They don't have the 14 and 17 million right now. They've got some of that.
Right.
So it's just like a business that does a projection on revenue. And you go, well, I think this year we're going to do $20 million in revenue. Okay. Well, you don't just do $20 million in revenue just because you put it on paper. You got to go get it.
Right.
But you got to get it over the course of the year. And so what happens is they have payroll because they don't pay these players. They don't give them $1 million right when they show up. They pay them X amount a month. Right. So they have payroll every month, just like a company. And can you make payroll? They're constantly fundraising and constantly chasing the payroll. Last year, Ole Miss missed the payroll. Like they missed one or two payrolls, like in September or whatever, early on, because they made commitments and they didn't have the money yet. And they had guys threatening to leave, and it was a problem. There's going to be lawsuits, all that. This is what you're going to see out of college athletics over the next couple of years. Is you're going to have teams that are going to write, checks that basically their ass can't cash. You know what I mean?
No, that's right.
They're going to go out there and say, yeah, we'll give you $1 million. And then they ain't got it. And they think they're going to go get it. But then what if they don't? What if they come up short? Then there's going to be conversations like, hey, Bobby, listen, I know we promised you $1 million, and I know you're supposed to get a $80,000 check this month, but hey, we're going to give you 50, and then we're going to make it up to you. We're going to give it to you. I mean, that's the conversations, man. And I'll give you an example too. LSU baseball, their budget right now, as of about 3 weeks ago, was $2 million for next year. And they
and this is a sport where you used to get 11.7, or you'd only get fractional scholarships on there. And the reason you're getting studs is because you got a kid out there whose family is doing great and doesn't need the scholarship, so you can go get somebody else.
Jared Jones is going to get $200,000 from LSU to come back next year. That's just from the co-op money,
right?
Okay, from the school, okay, that's promised. That's not, hey, I did a commercial for 446 Sports and they gave me $1,000, or the Rougarou, made an appearance and threw out the first pitch and signed autographs for 2 hours, and some sponsor gave me $1,000 to go do that. That's not the street money. That's not the side money that show up at a card signing and get paid $10,000 to sign autographs and stuff. Like, that's not that, which he's going to get another $200,000 probably doing that over the course of the next year. So this dude, like, he didn't get drafted and people were shocked. But the reason he didn't get drafted was because his signing number was so high, because he knew, hey, I'm only a sophomore. I got another year of leverage. I'm going to be a junior next year. And so if you want me to sign, you're going to have to pay me a lot of money, because if not, I'll go back to college, make $500,000, and then I'll sign for $1 million next year.
Right. And then the facilities,
so
I'll stick here on campus instead of riding that bus around the minors.
Charter flights. They do charter flights when they go fly somewhere.
Wow.
Charter flights, Coach.
unbelievable. Who knew it was going to get off into that? But that's it. So where does this nonsense stop, or does it not?
Well, that's the problem is that I think the bubble's got to burst at some point, right? I
Right.
mean, it's going to be the ultimate have and have nots, because it's going to be the ultimate have and have nots. You're going to have, programs that can sustain it. The Texas and the Texas A&Ms that have more money than God, the giant rich super boosters, Oklahoma State, T-Boone Pickens money, that stuff like that. And then you got Tabasco money. You got Gordon McKernan money. You know what I mean? Like, you got Raising Cane's money.
It's not
that's a lot
Nike
of
money at all.
It
It's not. Yeah.
It ain't Nike money. It ain't oil well money. That kind of stuff. So you're going to have the haves and have-nots. You're going to. I think the best way to look at it is this: Major League Baseball has no salary cap.
Right.
NFL does. NBA does. Major League Baseball does not. So if they have a tax, or they have a luxury tax, they call it. So at some point, if you spend over a certain amount of money, you got to pay a tax. But okay, whatever. But there's no, if you want to spend $1 billion, you can. Just got to pay a higher tax. Okay.
Right.
So the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers are always going to be the Cubs. They're always going to spend more money than everybody else. Right. They got more money there. And the Rays and the Marlins and the Kansas City Royals and the Minnesota Twins are always going to spend less than the other teams. Right.
Right.
And the LSU Tigers are somewhere in the middle. They're not the Rays, they're not, but they might be the Rangers, they might be the Phillies, or something. That's right. But they're not the Yankees. They're not the Red Sox. They're not the Cubs. They're not the Dodgers. They're not they're not even Houston, who's a top 5 market in the country. You know what I mean? Like, so they will have a lot of money. They'll have more than a lot of the other Division I football teams and power forward football teams, but they're not going to be in the top 10. So it is a different world that we're going to be living in, and folks are going to have to get used to. It's insane what's going to happen, not only this year but in the years to come. With the way that the NIL and the transfer portal and all that is, if you have a player that sticks around for a player that sticks around for like 2 years, that's a lot. And you're not going to see players sticking around for more than 2 years. It's going to be a rarity if a guy sticks around for more than 2 years because of the portal, because of the NIL and all that.
Look, that's really a disaster that's come to all of that, and look, we could talk a whole hour on just that, without a doubt. But I don't want to take all night, but I do want to talk about the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Tell me about what you guys have on there, some new exhibits coming up, and where they can find it.
Well, first off, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4:30 right there in downtown Natchitoches. And it's a wonderful museum. We just had our Hall of Fame induction class this June. We're actually going to vote August 18th, Sunday, August 18th. We have a 40-person panel, sports writers, past Hall of Famers, et cetera, that are going to get together and select the 2025 class. So we'll contact them, we'll notify them, and then we'll announce it to the public probably about the second week of September.
Am I to understand that I didn't make the ballot again?
Unfortunately, Doug, you did not get enough votes, man.
God dog it! Wait till next year. There's next year. We'll see about that. But no, it's a wonderful thing, and new exhibits all the time. You guys are having.
Yeah, and we're excited, man. We put a brand new, really interactive sign that's perfect for social media and all that right outside the museum. We put that up before the Hall of Fame induction weekend, and then also we've got some things over the next year and a half, a gift shop, as well as some new, over the next 2-3 years, we're going to have some major upgrades, but over the next probably 6 months, you'll see some major upgrades on the inside ground floor of the museum. The museum at this point is about 12 years old. But we're excited. The 25 class is going to be amazing. And obviously with Natchitoches, they live for the Christmas festival, and the weekend before Thanksgiving all the way to the first of the year is the best time to visit Natchitoches. It's gorgeous. The whole city's lit up with the Christmas lights, and that's a great best time too to visit the Hall of Fame, when Tuesday through Saturday.
Well, that's exciting, and they can find it, like we said, right up in Natchitoches. And if you're not familiar with where it's at, just go where all the lights are. Head down the road away from Northwestern State, and you'll find it down on there. And it doesn't look like it's 12 years old by any means. It looks like something that's not going to be built for 12 years from now in the future. It's so new and dynamic looking.
Yeah, it's right on the banks of the Cane River, right on Front Street. Please come by and see us. Fun for all ages. If you're a sports fan, if you're a history fan, we even have the Northwest History Museum upstairs as well, with great history about that northwest part of Louisiana. So it's definitely something everyone should check out. And if you're just passing through Natchitoches on your way to Shreveport, or you're from Shreveport on your way to Alexandria, it's literally 7 minutes off the interstate. So it's an easy, quick jump right off the interstate, get back on after a visit at the museum.
And a lot of good time spent around downtown Natchitoches as well. You and Tommy K in the mornings, Monday through Friday. Tell us about that and where they can find you.
Yeah, we chat 3 times a week. We'll be on tomorrow morning. It's called Sports Shorts Daily. It's about a 20-30-minute show, and we do that sucker 3 times a week. Been doing it for years. You can follow us on YouTube. Go to Sports Shorts, hosted by Ronnie Rantz. Give us a subscribe. Or you can go on Facebook, and it's a little white circle with the red writing that says Sports Shorts. Now, there's some other Facebook pages called Sports Shorts, so make sure you click on the white circle, red writing that says Sports Shorts, and give us a follow, and we'd appreciate it if you do.
You can end up in a lot of different, my lights went out too. You can end up in a lot of different places if you don't select the right one. If you just go in there looking for something, without a doubt. One of the things that you guys have a lot through the year, those silent auctions, picked up this signed Pete Rose jersey from there. That money
love it.
That Sports Hall of Fame as well. There's no reason he's not in the Hall of Fame for MLB, without a doubt, too. But again, I don't have enough soapboxes to talk about all I want.
Nah, Pete should be in for sure. And by the way, our next online Hall of Fame auction will be our Gridiron Kickoff. September every year.
Look like we
folks to go online at go to lasportshall.com, or you can go follow us on all the social media platforms and give us a follow. But look for that, and we'll have another Pete Rose autographed jersey, as well as Jose Canseco and Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz and all those as well. We'll have all of them in September.
How long does Paul stay in Pittsburgh before he goes off to the big money?
Well, I think as long as his contract's, I think 4 years, or it's either 4 years before he can go. So, I mean, it'll be probably 3 years before they start trying to dangle him for trade bait, because there's no way that Pittsburgh's going to be able to keep him and afford him. And depending on how good they are in year 4, how good they think they're going to be in year 4, my guess is they'll try to trade and get as much as they can for him.
Superstar, great ambassador for LSU, great ambassador for the program, certainly for the transfer portal, and just an all-around great guy. Ronnie Rantz, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate you taking time out of your Thursday night down at wherever you're at. It seems like they can't pin you down. You're always somewhere. But again, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Pelican Sports Report.
Well, I appreciate you, man, and thanks for all your support. Thanks for your help with our Hall of Fame golf tournament in May. I'll give you a holler next week, get together, talk about not only that golf tournament, but also the equipment and stuff. I appreciate it. And I'll be tuning into 446 Sports this fall, because I know you guys are going to be covering tons of high school football, and I got to watch my Menard Eagles, man. I got to follow the Menard Eagles. Hopefully they have a good year and make a long playoff run.
Look, they're going to do it. We talked to head coach David Perkins just last night, so it's been back-to-back Menard Eagles here on 446 Sports. Ronnie, thank you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Doug.